Hello and welcome to a brand new special Unsourced Wall unboxing. Today we're taking a look at the, well, not brand new, but somewhat hard to get 2000X versions of Skeletor and He-Man as part of the Masters Universe Origins line. Now these are available in sparse quantities, either on retail at Target, you have to go looking for them, and only somewhat pop up for sale on Amazon by third-party listers or at Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth, but still for pre-orders. Luckily, I was able to get these for standard market price on Amazon by a third-party lister, but as you can see, the card backs left a lot to be desired. Not that I mind, I'm not a Mythic card collector, I'm gonna open these up anyway, but if you're trying to look for these and you're trying to look for them at not a price gougy price that you would pay like on eBay, it's going to be a bit of a hassle, and that's unfortunate. But I can't wait to get these open. I'm planning on doing a bit more of them than I usually did. If you watch a couple of my other Master Universe Origins videos, you can see that I have very big plans for Skeletor and He-Man, and I spent like quite more money than I should have to really kit out the standard Origins and standard Skeletor figures. Really get them all the equipment, all the accessories that they need to be completely full, and I'm planning to do something similar to these two, especially He-Man. So let's get them open and see what's what. And so here we have 2000X Skeletor all out, and I have to say, he looks fantastic. The chest armor is basically the same as your regular Skeletor figure. They did add a bit more color detailing. The sides are black, and it has the painted red gem on the middle of the chest there. But other than that, it has the exact same sculpt and mold and everything of the original Origin Skeletor chest armor, and also the same issues, which is that the back clasp is extremely weak and fiddly. Now there are a couple of things that are really different. Obviously the head sculpt is insanely different. There's a lot more detail. He's got these fangs. He's got more of a menacing look to him, more evil, especially up close. He's got just more skeletal features, a lot more rigid lines. Not as toyetic, honestly, but I really like that. It makes him stand out a bit more. He also has this more pronounced hood. Now in the 2000X series, he began with like the hood and a cloak, and it was very, very impressive looking. But then he kind of ripped that off and he just became like the regular hooded Skeletor. Now on a figure, it looks just really, really awkward because while on the regular Skeletor, the hood is a bit more form-fitting to his face. On here, the hood is so much more out there. It's so much more bulky. Kind of gives him this bobblehead kind of stature. It does come off a bit awkward. Also, he comes with new details on the kind of skirts and new shin guards. So it's not like a proper boot. It's not like his monster legs from the regular version. They're like shin armor, which I think is really, really cool. Faithful to that 2000X design. The only other things is that, well, he comes with the standard Origins MOTU Havoc staff, which is a bit of a shame. It's cast in this really nice sparkly plastic. It's same sparkly plastic as the Battle Armor Skeletor, which I had used to kind of get this style of the Violet for my completely kitted out Origin Skeletor. But it's a shame because the Havoc staff in the 2000X show is completely different. So to just reuse that mold, it's a bit lame. He also comes with even more rigid plastic looking power sword, or at least the dual glaive sword he has from the 2000X show. Now in that show it can split apart, as a lot of people have already kind of mentioned. This doesn't split apart, but thankfully he does come with two kind of gripping hands, so maybe, let's see if we can do it. Does he have enough clearance to double grip? And kinda, yes he does. His handle snap back. I'm worried what that would do to the kind of elbow joints. You can see it's kind of like really straining them, so I'm not going to press my luck with that. Get that snugly into place. But you could do it. I'm just worried that the arm might rip out of socket if you do it for too long. So thankfully you can at least wield in both hands to give him at least some more function, even though the sword doesn't split apart anymore. It's a really nice, impressive sword, and it's good to have something so distinct to the character in here. Now I did want to kit this out a little bit. When I did the kit out He-Man Skeletor video, I mentioned that I had gotten the Rise of Evil, Keldor, and Cronus 2-pack. It came along with the Keldor cape, which I had wanted, but I wasn't going to use on the entirely kitted out Skeletor. I didn't think that was quite right for that version I was building there. But when I heard that they were making the 2000X Skeletor, I remember that pilot where he has the entire cloak outfit going on. I just thought this would probably fit really well with that, especially since Skeletor was kind of inspired by the 2000X version in terms of look and design. And you even have the color match of the dark purples, which wouldn't really have matched with the Skeletor. I just thought, like, you know what? Let's complete the look. Let's get him all kitted out to that, pilot design, which I think really would have worked a lot better for that show if they had kept it. It was really intimidating and impressive, and also hides a bit more of that bobblehead look. It lessens the gap between what his head is and the rest of his body. So it looks a bit more proportionate, which is really, really good. And just like on the show, it is very impressive looking. Like I think it completes the entire design. Let's give him his Havoc Staff and I think we have an entirely kitted out 2000X Skeletor. Now there are other things you could probably put onto the Skeletor, but the big thing holding this back in terms of mixing and matching and customization is that he has this almost grayish violet purple blue skin tone. So you're not going to be able to get like a standard Skeletor variant, like the Battle Armor Skeletor or the regular Skeletor or the kind of Fighting Fist Skeletor, because the level of blue is just so much more vibrant on those and they would stick out like a sore thumb. So I'm not quite sure what figures they might come out with in the future that would fit this Skeletor. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. I'm so glad I kept the cape from that Keldor, because it really does complete the look of this figure in a way that makes it stand out even more from your regular Origin Skeletor. And I'm going to be really happy to kind of display them together like this in a way that makes them so much more distinct. So anyway, let's put this aside and let's get to 2000X He-Man. Now here's the 2000X He-Man, which first off the bat came with a lot of weird blemishes, molding marks, and paint rubs everywhere. On the accessories, on the figure itself, which I wouldn't mind that much if this weren't so expensive. So I'm gonna have to learn Lua Fit, because it's not something like the issues I had getting the Origins He-Man itself when I was making the entirely kit out version of that, because those are so inexpensive relatively. They're easy to find, they're easy to buy online. This, not really. So I can't really easily go out and get a replacement for some of the things I noticed that's wrong with this figure. But let's move along. Lots of stuff here that's new. The chest armor is new. The trunks. One thing that's really weird though, especially in comparison to 2000X Skeletor, is that the head is just your regular He-Man vintage style face, but with the more anime-esque, more kind of a boy band-esque hair. So when you place them side by side, it's like almost night and day. I think the hair does a lot to like really sort of give this its own flavor, but not as much as Skeletor's entirely new face design. If they had gone a little bit more, cartoon accurate with the face, it would have been more interesting. Especially since we're seeing with the Mattel animated 4-pack with the original Filmation design, the New Adventures design, and the CGI He-Man design, all getting their own kind of faces. This is kind of the odd man out. Like, they didn't quite know what they wanted to do. So this is more like a test run for those. And it kind of makes me wish that they would release a version 2 of this. Maybe in the future. It's their standard He-Man figure, but the weapons are all quite different. Now you have 2000X inspired axe and sword, which all came out really lovely. They have that kind of same metallic sheen as the power sword or the dual blade that Skeletor has. But they're really nice, and they also had gimmicks in the show and in the original figures that these don't have, but you know what? I don't mind that as well. It would have been nice to have them. I think that there's enough engineering to make that happen, but unfortunately they didn't go that route. Now my other big gripe was the shield, because it has really weird molding marks. The paint is kind of like a mess, especially on the ringlets around the side, and it feels really flimsy. It doesn't feel as solid as the standard shield you get with the standard He-Man. It feels very thin, very cheap, which is a shame. Like, I know these are cheap figures generally, but even the standard figure has a shield that feels like it has more weight, a little more stability. And now we have our own fully kitted out He-Man, and he looks really great. Now he also has a port on his back, which I believe you can put the axe in. I always like to have He-Man holding his power sword. Like that's my go-to. Axe doesn't clip or anything, but looks nice and snug on the back, and I always love the look of having it kind of like hanging to the side. But one last thing, and this is going to be the most intensive thing that I'm going to be doing with any of these figures. You know, it was nice to have the cape from Skeletor, but He-Man is the one I really want to take a look at, because in that Mattel 4-pack I mentioned, they did re-release this, and it was kind of tuned up. It had back metal accessories and all that, but they also added extra paint deco onto his armor. Now, even in the standard He-Man Origins figure, these square blocks are painted in with a kind of darker red color, similar to like what he has on his trunks and on his armor insignia at the chest here. But they're not here, and I can guess why, because there's a lot more paint detail here. You have the glossy gold and the silver and everything. But it's a bit of a shame, and especially after looking at those promo pictures, this just looks unfinished to me now. Like I wouldn't be satisfied with this as it is anymore. Now, there's two things I could do. I could look for someone selling just the 2000X exclusive 4-pack version with the painted blocks, which I have, and they're selling it for like $70, which I think is too much, especially since all I want is the armor. Or find someone who's selling just the armor, which I think would be really unlikely, because whoever has that wouldn't want to like devalue the price that this would go for as a whole, especially since so much of this is reuse. Because as a whole, you can understand like, okay, this is that version, and you would probably be able to mark that up a lot more than just saying, oh yeah, no, this came from that version, but I'm just selling it as the arm, and the arm itself, you know, doesn't stand out that much. So my plan is, and I have a couple of, you know, materials here that I hope to use, is to use blue tape to kind of mark off each individual square. And then I got these Gundam markers, because I think they're one of the few markers I can find that, you know, are relatively, you know, easy to get and inexpensive. You get some of the darker reds and paint in the squares. Now, is it going to look great? Is it going to look accurate to that 4-pack version? Probably not, but I just want to try, because right now it just looks too bare for my taste. So let's give it a shot. So we're going to cut back to see whether I gave up or whether I succeeded. All right, so I finally finished, and I have to say, I'm not too disappointed with how this turned out. All right, so if you want to try this on your own, I do think the color match is pretty exact to the kind of maroonish, darkish red color that they usually paint the squares with. It's the Gundam marker GM34 from the Xeon Colors set. It's like $20 on Amazon for a whole set. I'm not quite sure how much it is to get these like individually. I think that there are some places like eBay that sell individual Gundam markers for like $6 to $10, but it's worth it to get the whole set. That way you can get a bunch of different colors to play with, and you know, it's well worth the money. Now, a couple of things. From far away and on this kind of like low definition video, it looks pretty good, but there was some overflow, in which I tried to clean up with, you know, toothpicks, cloth, and nail polish remover, you know, the standard stuff, and it did scratch up the brown plastic a bit. It's not too noticeable far away, but up close you can see that it's a bit more faded, like the grooves and the glossiness and sheen of the brown is kind of worn away a bit. It's a shame, especially since, like I said, getting one of these right now is a bit tricky. But if I find someone selling just the armor for, you know, a reasonable price, I'll probably get that and try my hand making a version 2 of this. But overall, I do like it. I like what I'm able to do with it. It's not like these are well known for not having, you know, regular amounts of paint slop anyway. So I think that was well within, you know, standard practices for this figure line. But I do think it completes the look. It makes it feel a lot more kind of well-rounded, paint deco wise. And also, I even painted like the back square, just like the standard Origins He-Man has the back square painted. So overall, I'm really pleased with it. I'm glad I did that because I think it completes the look of both these figures in a nice, well-rounded way. And with how Mattel is releasing these Origins versions of different incarnations of the characters, it makes it just like this really fun thing to try and get. Like they're even doing an anti-Eternia Skeletor, which I'm really excited to get. I'll do some customization of that too, because I think that's missing, at least the prototype version is missing a couple of details. I'll even try my hand at sculpting with some modeling clay on that when that does, you know, eventually come out. So yeah, I'm glad I have this. I definitely recommend getting the Rise of Evil Keldor cape for the 2000X Skeletor, and also using the Gundam marker GM34 color from the Xeon collection to complete the squares on your 2000X He-Man. If you can color up in the lines, it's a bit tricky because, you know, very tiny molding right there. Great set. I'm glad I was able to get them both situated to my liking. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that these extra attachments and paints really do help these figures out? What would you do? I know a couple of people are using the accessories from the original figures for these because they're a lot more impressive and posing and they have the action features, which I might do. Not quite sure. I do like that these are more simplistic because it fits with the whole retro vintage aesthetic of Origins. Let me know what you think of these figures and what other versions of these characters do you hope Origins touches upon next. My wish list has to include movie style Origins figures. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and see you again next time. Hope you have a great week.